Okay, so this week we are reviewing 3 Popular Romantasy series that when I first started reading them, they were all on Kindle Unlimited, but one of them is not now. The one that's not is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L Jensen, and the other 2 that still are Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole and The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. So I started these series. I've only read book 1 of each of these series, and I am intending to continue on with them, which is why I'm reviewing them, but I just wanted to give you guys kind of an idea of what they're about and if I think you'd like them too, what I liked about them, and yeah, kind of go from there. I think The Bridge Kingdom, from what I saw, is like $7 on the Kindle now. I'm not sure what happened. I didn't really dig into it too much further than that. Originally when I did this, I wanted to say that I had started 3 Kindle Unlimited series, but that is not the case now. Only 2 of them are. And I will say I did actually enjoy the other 2 more, not because they were free, just because I got more enjoyment out of them. But I have heard that all the series get very, very good, so I am excited to continue on with them in the fall. I'm just not really in the mood for romantasy or fantasy at the moment. I kind of just want to have some fun summer reads and just kind of take it easy and have fun reading and nothing too serious, just having a good time with the books that I'm reading. And I still wanted to review these because I have started them and I did think they were still very fun, considering I wasn't even really in the mood for them once I got around to them. But I was like, for once I just want to try and stick to my TBR. I just want to see if I can do it, and that was pretty rewarding. I don't know if I would always do that, but I did enjoy reading my full May TBR, which included these 3 starts to these series. I have a notebook for this. This is my new notebook, by the way. It's cute and it fits like in the back of my pocket. Fun stuff. Anyway, I got it in a store in, where did I get this? I think I got this in Obidos with my mom when we went there for my birthday. But yeah, it's so cute. It fits in the back of your pocket and it's so pretty. Like, I love these colors. It is this painting by Claude Monet. Hopefully you guys can see that. But yeah, that's the whole little journal. So just started writing in it. This one's not lined, but get a little more comfortable. Like I said, started 3 Popular Romantasy series. First series I started was Spark of the Everflame. This is the Kindred's Curse series by Penn Cole, and this was recommended to me by you guys, so thank you. It was a very great read, and I have seen that it's quite popular and that lots of people really enjoyed it, so it was just a really fun read. I think I did a review of it in like one of my wrap-ups, saying that there was part of it that kind of slowed down. I was thinking that it wasn't going to be my favorite read, but I did end up really enjoying it. Basically what happens in this is there are 2 main groups of like people, I guess you could say. You have humans and then you have the descended royalty. These kind of strike me as not fae, but they are like magical beings, and they basically rule their realms, but they're separated. The realms are separated into, I can't remember how many there are, but there's different worlds, and each of them kind of follow that same human descended royalty that come from gods, and they technically do rule over the humans. They're way more powerful. And in this story you follow DM, who is the main, I hope I'm saying her name right. You follow DM, who is the main female character, and she is a human healer, so not in a magical way by any means. And she, at the start of this book, is kind of going through a lot because her mom has supposedly died, but there's no like confirmation that she has actually died. They definitely don't know where she is, if she is alive. And so you're kind of following her situation and what she has to do kind of to step into her mom's shoes in a way. So, hi Pushka. So yeah, she basically has to go into the, I guess you could call it, castle, and start taking care of King Ulthur, who is dying. He is the current king. And in this world, what's really interesting is magic, like the king of that like realm, I guess you could say, is decided by who is the most powerful. So technically they do all think that the like crown will pass to Luther, who is one of the main male characters in this first book, and they think that because he is so powerful. But it's one of those situations where like technically it doesn't necessarily have to go to him. It doesn't go by like lineage and birthright. It comes from power. However, obviously your parental lineage probably would play a part in how powerful you are. But I did think that was really interesting, that that is how the crown passes, is based on who the most powerful is, and that it's recognized, like the crown almost decides. And I actually did like that. Even though the descended royalty, obviously there is crookedness there. This is actually not our cat, but she's a sweetie. Yes. So basically, that's how the power dynamic works, as far as who is in control, who leads their world, who leads the people. There is obviously a rift between descended royalty and humans where it's incredibly unequal. The humans mostly live in poverty, and they are like outside of the areas, the rich, wealthy areas where the descended royalty live. DM's younger brother is very smart, so he goes to school with descended royalty. Again, these are like immortal beings too, whereas obviously humans are not. So you have that to consider. And then you have her father, DM's father, who is someone who is considered like a war hero, but for the descended royalty. And even though he's human, and he's actually her stepfather, I should say, he's not her like biological father. And then you have her mom, who's like MIA. And then you also have Luther, like I said, who is the like heir apparent. Like they think he will become the next heir to the throne. And his younger sister plays a part in this too. There's quite a few characters, but the main characters I will say are DM, Luther, and Henry, who is DM's friend, who I'm not a fan of, but it does say in the author's like Instagram bio that she full-on stans Henry. He's just not my favorite, I won't lie. But basically, you're following DM and her trying to fill her mother's shoes so that her brother can stay in this like elite school where he's learning at a level that is more appropriate for him, because the schools where the humans go are obviously not as privileged. And so he goes to the school because he's so smart, and also because the mom originally made a deal with the royal family that she could work as a healer for them. They're gifted in human ways. It's an interesting concept where they are gifted with healing them in ways that they cannot heal themselves. So, and they do use like the magic of like herbs and whatnot, but it's not the same as if like you were to magically just like, you know, heal you, you're perfectly fine, all is well and good. So it's not that kind of magical healing. But basically, like I said, I think this is the third time I've said this, she's stepping into her mother's shoes, but she's also really trying to find out where her place is in regards to like where she actually wants her loyalty to align to, like humans, descended royalty, who's in the wrong, and also what happened to her mom. She's very curious about that and how that all plays out. And ultimately there is kind of a silent war rising. There's a lot of other things going on, but I am assuming that's where the series leads, is to what's probably an impending war between the humans and the descended royalty. I am really curious to see if the next books expand into the other realms where there's like different variations of this human descended royalty dynamic. I think that would be really cool. Obviously, I don't know, I only read the first book, but I really, really did like DM, and I really like Luther. Not a big fan of Henry. Everyone else is an interesting character. They play a good role. I like her aunt, I like her brother, I like her dad. Yeah, they also have like a Gryvern, I think it's called. I'm probably saying that wrong, but it's like a griffin mixed with a wyvern. This beast, I guess you could call it, is tied to whoever is the king or queen or whatever you want to call it, the actual person sitting on the throne. And that is the only magical creature I think we've seen so far in the book. But yeah, there's a lot of really interesting magical dynamics in this. It's obviously a romantasy, so there are romantic moments, but there is an insta-love, which I love. That is like my favorite thing, when they don't just automatically be like, okay, now they're in love. They've seen each other and like you're in their point of views, and they're just kind of like, oh yes, like I can tell that I'm very much into them. It's only a matter of time kind of thing. It's not like that. I would say it's very much like her trying to just figure out her life, and she probably doesn't even really know what she wants. And she has higher priorities than just figuring out like her love life, which I also really enjoyed. So yeah, I really liked this start to the series, and I'm very excited to continue reading it. My understanding is this will be a 4-book completed series by the end of this year, so I am very excited for that. I did enjoy the romance. I did enjoy the magic system. I like the world we're in. I just thought it was really well done, and I'm looking forward to the rest of it. Like I said, this is on Kindle Unlimited if you want to start reading it too. The next series I started, this is just the first book in the series, was The Bridge Kingdom. This is by Danielle L Jensen. I believe that this is like a 6-part series, but there's 3 separate duologies, so the next book would probably complete this first duology, but they're all tied into the same world. That is my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong. These kinds of series do tend to kind of confuse me a little bit in the reading order and like how much is tied between each duology or duet or whatever you want to call it. So I'm not entirely sure. This is the one, like I said, that was on Kindle Unlimited when I read the first book, but now is like $7 Canadian, I think. I'm not too sure. What happens in this one is that you have a Southern Kingdom, the Bridge Kingdom, and then the Northern Kingdom. I think there's probably a couple other intermixed in there, but everything as far as trade has to go through the Bridge Kingdom, and it's believed that whoever occupies this Bridge Kingdom basically has all the power and the wealth. So the Southern Kingdom, the king of this kingdom is the father to Laura, who is our main female character. In the beginning of the book, you see her and 20 of her sisters are basically training to become assassins that will have an arranged marriage with the king that is in the Bridge Kingdom. This is Aaron, that's who the king is there. I believe it was 15 years prior, there was a peace agreement that in 15 years there would be an arranged marriage to continue the peace between their kingdoms. The king in the Southern Kingdom has really no intention of fulfilling peace. He just wants power, control, kind of like a fairly typical story even in real life. But essentially what happens is Laura is the one that is, I guess you could say, chosen to go and marry the king of the Bridge Kingdom, Aaron. So she is brought up in a way where she is taught that the Bridge Kingdom is evil, they're bad. She's essentially brainwashed to believe that her mission is like a very important one to help the survival of her people and to really kind of avenge the mistreatment of her people who are suffering and are not doing well, because like she's told that it is because of the Bridge Kingdom and their control and their lack of desire to like help anyone but themselves. Her father has obviously brainwashed her along with all her teachers into thinking this, but they're all just kind of evil. Anyway, she gets there, she marries him. Obviously it starts off with her trying to figure out all this information and trying to get all of this information so she can send it somehow back to her father so that they can basically invade the Bridge Kingdom and take it over. Aaron is aware that her father is not the most, I don't even know what you would call it, not the most honorable king, and definitely would probably try to do something like what's happening. So he's definitely keeping a watchful eye on her, but obviously this is a romantasy. As the story unfolds, they are kind of falling for each other. However, they don't trust each other. It seems unlikely that it could work out. And also there is parts of the story where you notice that Laura's allegiances really are being tested, because she was secluded. She was brought up in a way that taught her there was only this one story to how everything has played out in their kingdom and what's happened to their people, whereas being away for the first time is obviously opening her eyes to the fact that that might not be true and that there are a lot of things that she does not know. So it's showing her life in the Bridge Kingdom with Aaron and how that unfolds, and her ultimately having to make a decision about what she really wants and what she truly believes is true, what she believes to truly be true. I don't know what I'm trying to say. But that is basically the main plot of this story. There is no I'm trying to think. There really is no magic to this. I had me questioning if you can call it a fantasy. I feel like you can, because like you are in a fantasy world. Like there's no magic, but there's also like these are kingdoms that are not real. They wouldn't have even been real in our like lifetime, not lifetime, but like in the many years past on Earth, I don't think. So it is fantasy, but it's romantasy, and there is no magic. So I, for some reason, thought there was going to be magic going into this. There's not, though. That's not why I didn't like it as much. That's not really a problem for me if stuff doesn't have to have magic in it for it to be good. Just something to be aware of. There's no magical incorporations. There's no like creatures or magical beings of any kind. So it's just primarily the story focuses on Aaron and Laura. And I'm not gonna lie, this just wasn't like my favorite. I think it wasn't horrible, but it just wasn't my favorite. I have been told that it gets better, so I will, and I do intend to keep reading this one too. I'm not really sure what to expect going forward. I didn't really care for Laura's character. She kind of felt a little bit, honestly, both her and Aaron just felt lackluster. Again, this was a situation where the villains that aren't really part of the story just seemed more interesting overall, whereas what was happening with Laura and Aaron felt like it could have just been sped up a lot, and this book was not even that long, but I did feel like it could have been sped up, and also a lot of what is happening is just kind of like boring, I guess you could say. I don't know. I just found her character and Aaron's character a little bit boring. Just wasn't my favorite dynamic, and honestly I just didn't really feel the chemistry between them either. So that's always kind of hard for me when I'm reading a romantasy. I know a lot of people obviously feel differently about this book. This is just like my opinions while I was reading it. I'm hoping it gets better. I think it definitely could based on where the book ends. I just am not really sure what's going to happen, if I'm being honest. I feel like for this one, what is nice going into the next book is my expectations are a lot lower now. So I do think that that will be really interesting to see where the next book goes. And because they're duologies, I think what I'm going to do is read the second book, and if it hasn't really improved much and I'm just like not getting into it still, I might stop reading there. But I'm definitely going to at least read the second book in all of these series. Overall, out of these three romantasies, this one was my least favorite. The last romantasy series I read was The Serpent and the Wings of Night. This is the Crowns of Nyaxia series by Carissa Broadbent. This is on Kindle Unlimited still at the time of recording this. I really, really like this series. This is essentially a human girl who is raised with vampires. She is living on the vampire side of this world where the humans are, again, in poverty. They are basically seen as prey, as life sources to vampires, like, and just nothing else. They're kind of like the way we view, if you are someone who is an omnivore or you eat meat, it's kind of like the vampires view the people the way we would view like a cow or a chicken. Not great. So we have the story starting out with Aurea, who is the main female character. She's raised by Vincent, who is basically like the king vampire, I guess you could say. He rules over, I can't think of what they're called. I think they're the Nightborn vampires. Hopefully I'm getting that right. Basically, he rules over all of them. There are like rules or guidelines that they call laws in place that are designed to ideally protect humans from vampires and vampires from like killing them. Obviously, vampires still do whatever they want. They are like the apex predator, and she wants to essentially enter this tournament that comes around every so often. It's held by the goddess Nyaxia, and it's basically a free-for-all of vampires fighting to the death through... There's another kitty on our deck who's meowing. He kind of sounds like a frog when he meows. But essentially, they are going through these challenges. They all stay in the same place, but they are allowed to leave this. I think it's called the Moon Palace, but they're allowed to leave this place at night because they're vampires. They're not walking around during the day, except for Aurea, who can, but she obviously sticks to the typical schedule, I guess you could call it. Anyway, She essentially enters this tournament, but she goes into it thinking she's going to do it so that she can ask Nyaxia for a wish to become her father, Vincent's, I don't know how you say it, if it's Corite or something like Coriatis. I don't know. She basically wants to be like bound to her, I guess you could call him like her adoptive father. He like found her in the rubble, and like that she was kind of, even as a baby, I don't know what the word is, but she basically kind of fought back even as a baby when she was in a position like he's holding her and he could just like kill her with a flick of his wrist, and she's kind of like fighting back even as a baby, so he basically took her in as his own. That's how the storyline plays out anyway at the beginning, but the point is for her to enter this tournament to hopefully win and become bonded to him so that she basically also becomes a vampire and they can ultimately lead together. And I think she thinks that this will lead to really valuable changes as far as like her human kin go. But her reason for entering is not quite how the story plays out, as you might guess. Even though that's how you are directed to think the storyline is going to go, that is not exactly what happens. She meets in the tournament two other people. You have Rain, the main male character, and then you also have Mishi, who is his friend. These are both vampires that were turned. So originally they were humans. They do form kind of like a bit of an alliance, and they are all kind of working together through this tournament so that they can kind of get to the end. They all have different goals when it comes to what they want if they were to win, but you are seeing vampires from all over basically compete in these vampire ritual trials that this goddess of death puts on. So it is a really fun read. It obviously, there is magic, but it's not just like what you would typically think of vampires. They do all wield kind of some different magic, which I thought was interesting. I did like the way the magic was told in this, especially since they are vampires. And I did find Rain, Aurea, and Mishi extremely lovable. The villains of this story were very believable too. Definitely did not like her dad, and it was just a really good read. It was very fast paced. It was probably my favorite out of the three, but honestly Spark of the Everflame is very like close behind. It was almost hard to decide. Like I said, I love the characters in The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I'm very excited to continue on with this series. This is also like a 6-book series where they're split into 3 duologies and a couple of novellas. Again, I got a little bit confused about the reading order for this and if it matters where you start. I'm gonna just assume you need to start where it starts. I think this is the least finished out of all of the book series that I've read. Like this one has the most books yet to be released. I would say that this was probably my favorite, and if you are looking for a romantasy series to start and read and you like vampires, I do think you would really like this. Again, these are all really popular. It's just interesting to see if they hold up to like all the hype. I would say that The Serpent and the Wings of Night definitely does, and so does Spark of the Everflame. I think at the beginning of the first novel it slows down. There's a point where it slows down a little bit, and that might have you questioning whether it is worth it. Just keep reading. It is. That's kind of what my experience was with that one. They are all quite good reads, but I feel like if you do use Kindle or the library and you can get your books for free, obviously Spark of the Everflame and The Serpent and the Wings of Night for free is quite nice, especially when the writing is really good. I do think you would enjoy them. That would probably be my order though. If you're looking for a new series, like romantasy series to get into, would be The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent, and then the Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole, and then The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L Jensen. And I'm only saying this because I have been told a few times now that it gets a lot better. I cannot guarantee that. I have not read the next books yet. If you have read these, let me know what you think. And if you are here for the first time, say hi, and I'll probably talk to you guys really soon. I have been enjoying releasing videos, I think a couple times a week. And then I also release stuff over on Patreon. It's free. Some of this stuff I get worried that it might be too much and not like bookish enough. So it is over there if you want to see it. I had to create like a I don't know what you'd call it, but basically if you join for free, it's over there. So these are just like unlisted videos I have. And ultimately, if you are, you know, around a lot and you like what you're seeing, like the video, subscribe, comment, whatever you feel like, you know what to do, and I'll talk to you guys next week.